Over 21 centuries ago, a ship passing across a small Greek island called Antikythera was wrecked in a storm. Amidst the shipwreck was an astronomical machine that was centuries ahead of its time, drowned along with the oil lamps and vases used by the ship's passengers. This brilliant device could calculate the position of the sun and moon for 19 years into the future, lunar phases, and the movement of the planets and stars. But it would remain under the sea for the next 2,000 years before finally being discovered, eroded by the salt and sand of the sea. It would be called the Antikythera Mechanism, after the island where it was found. In 1901, Captain Dimitrios Kontos and his crew discovered the Antikythera shipwreck and recovered some artifacts. The artifacts included coins, glassware, plates and bowls, oil lamps, intricately designed vases, urns, stone sculptures, and a mysterious device. On May 17, 1902, archaeologist Valerios Staeus identified this device as containing a gear, suggesting that it might have been some sort of clock or navigation device. Decades later, between the 1970s and 1990s, X-ray imaging revealed that the device might have followed the motion of the heavens. But the X-ray images were so difficult to understand that the device was again ignored for a few more decades. The device is now located at the National Archaeological Museum of Athens. During that time, several articles about the device were published, including one by Eric von Däniken that suggested it came from an alien spaceship. Some researchers have described the Antikythera mechanism as possibly the first analog computer ever. Could this be true? Who built the Antikythera mechanism? When was it built? In 2008, two professors from Cardiff University, Mike Edmonds and Tony Freeth, sparked renewed interest in the device. On the outside, it looked like just another piece of rock covered in moss, or maybe even a rare stone. But with the help of modern computer X-ray tomography and high-resolution surface scanning, they quickly observed that this artifact was extraordinary. It contained faint inscriptions suggesting this device was a highly complicated gear. Wood specks found on the device indicated that it had an outer, wooden casing. Inside this casing were 37 meshing bronze gears that allowed the machine to predict the movement of the sun and moon through the zodiac, and also suggest which city was to hold the next Olympic Games. Studies of the mechanism have allowed researchers to develop a probable explanation of how the device looked and functioned. It is approximately the size of a mantle clock, made from bronze sheet and enclosed in a wooden casing. The front casing has a large circular face with rotating hands similar to a watch. It had a knob on the side for winding the mechanism forward or backwards. The knob is connected to a complicated set of gears inside the casing that drive at least 7 hands at various speeds. The hands represented the movement of the sun, the moon, and the 5 primary planets: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. It also has a rotating black and silver ball indicating lunar phases. On the back casing, there are 2 dial systems, each with a pin that follows its spiral groove, similar to the needle of a record player. One of the dials was a calendar, while the other showed the timing of lunar and solar eclipses. The inscriptions hidden inside the mechanism have offered lots of insight into how it worked. According to Alexander Jones, a historian at the Institute for the Study of the Ancient Worlds in New York, one of the inscriptions reveals that the mechanism carried colored balls, fiery red for Mars and gold for the sun. It follows the ancient Greek belief that the planets moved back and forth in the sky because of how they orbit around the sun. They called these movements epicycles, composed of small circles superimposed on a larger orbit. Preservation efforts at the National Archaeological Museum, Athens, caused the Antikythera mechanism to separate into 3 fragments, later separated into 82 fragments. Still, researchers believe these fragments account for only 1/3 of the device, with many parts probably still lost under the sea. One of the missing parts is the part that drove the planetary pointers. There were two other searches at the Antikythera shipwreck site in 2012 and 2015, respectively. These other searches only yielded more art objects and a second, smaller ship that might have been connected to the treasure ship where the mechanism was housed. A 5-year program of investigation into the site that began in 2019 is currently ongoing. Because of the lack of evidence about the true nature and functioning of the device, and with the likelihood that some part of the gear has been lost at sea, several researchers have tried to reconstruct the mechanism. The first attempt was by Michael Wright, a former curator at London's Science Museum, who added a potential planetarium system with a deeper, more basic solar anomaly. His model adopted epicycles with trains of small gears orbiting around larger ones. Evans, Carman, and Thorndike created a different model that proposed a much simpler mechanism than that of Wright. In 2012, Freeth and Jones published a proposal detailing the planetary movement mechanism of the device, similar to Wright's, yet having many more details. The question that remains unanswered about the Antikythera mechanism is, when and where was it built? There have been many debates over its accurate place and time of origin. The most popular estimations of its origin date back to the end of the 1st century BC, or the beginning of the 2nd century BC. This is because its construction relies on theories of astronomy and mathematics developed by Greek astronomers around that time. The shipwreck where this device was discovered dates back to 90 or 70 BC, so some believe the device must have been constructed a few decades before. Later studies propose that it was built in 205 BC, 7 years after the death of Archimedes. Archimedes was a Greek mathematician, physicist, engineer, and astronomer, well known for his inventions and scientific discoveries. He invented the sciences of mechanics and hydrostatics, and he was one of the leading scientists in classical antiquity. Inscriptions on the device have provided clues about where it was made. According to Paul Iverson, a classicist at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, the calendar on the mechanism includes month names used in Corinth and its colonies. The mechanism features a dial called the Metonic Spiral that shows the timing of major athletic festivals, such as the Olympics. One of the festivals it listed is Na, a festival held in the northwest of Greece and Sicily, where Corinth had its colonies. One of Corinth's colonies was Syracuse, the home of Archimedes. In 2008, the Antikythera Mechanism Research Project proposed that there might be a connection between the mechanism and the school of Archimedes. Does this mean that there might be a chance that Archimedes had a hand in the production of the mechanism, or maybe even built it by himself? The Metonic Spiral also listed Haleia, on the island of Rhodes in the southern part of Greece. The ship carrying the mechanism had Rhodian-style vases, meaning that the device was probably built in Rhodes at an academy founded by Poseidonus. Alongside being an astronomer, astrologer, geographer, historian, and mathematician, Poseidonus was also a teacher. He was considered to be a man of great knowledge and wisdom, and he taught students his theories in Apameia, Syria, as well as Rhodes. The device might have been built in Rhodes for a client in the north. Further evidence suggests that the device might have been constructed on the island, which includes the fact Rhodes was a center of astronomy and mechanical engineering, and home to the astronomer Hipparchus. Born in Nicaea, Hipparchus was also a mathematician and geographer. He is believed to be the founder of trigonometry, but is also famously known for his discovery of precession of the equinoxes. The Antikythera mechanism uses Hipparchus's theory for the motion of the moon. Could he have designed it or worked on building it? The fact that Hipparchus practiced between 140 BC and 120 BC also supports this theory, as many researchers have dated the mechanism back to that period. Recently, researchers have argued that the astronomical events on the parapegma of the mechanism are best suited to latitudes in the range of 33.3 to 37 degrees north. Meanwhile, Rhodes is located between the latitudes of 35.85 and 36.5 degrees north. In 2017, Iverson published a study that argued that the prototype for the mechanism was from Rhodes, but this particular one was modified for a client from Epirus, northwest of Greece. He also argued that the device might have been constructed a generation before the shipwreck. Jacques Cousteau found some coins at the shipwreck site in the 1970s that provide a further clue about where and when the mechanism was built. The theory about the coins is that they date back to when the device was constructed. It suggests that the device might have been built in the ancient Greek city of Pergamon, where the Library of Pergamum is located. There have been devices similar to the Antikythera mechanism mentioned in several ancient Greek works of literature. Among them is the two machines built by Archimedes and considered to be some planetarium, which was mentioned in Cicero's De Re Republica. The Roman general Marcus Claudius Marcellus brought both devices to Rome after the death of Archimedes and the siege of Syracuse in 212 BC. Another device is the odometer, which the Romans later modeled to place their mile markers. Other complex mechanical devices have been recorded in Byzantine and Arabic texts. The Book of Ingenious Devices, commissioned by the Caliph of Baghdad in the 9th century AD, lists over 100 complex mechanical devices, some of which likely dates back to ancient Greek texts preserved in monasteries. The evidence that the ancient Greeks had a tradition of complex mechanical devices and innovative technological advancements mean that the Antikythera mechanism was not unique. What kind of mind-blowing devices might have existed around that time? Regardless of the Antikythera mechanism's time or place of origin, one thing is sure. The ancient Greek astronomers set many precedents for how the modern world understands the universe's rules. The mechanism is so ingenious that researchers are still yet to uncover all the mysteries behind it. It leaves the world wondering what kind of people the ancient Greeks really were. Did they have superior intelligence that made them so advanced in technology and philosophy? Are there other ingenious machines like the Antikythera mechanism rotting under the sea somewhere? Did the Greeks have to give up some of their machines once their empire began to fall to colonizers? The world may never find the answers to these questions.